One of the most exciting things about the Alumni Network is finding out what everyone has been up to since they worked at PwC. And I'm super excited to be interviewing a bunch of really interesting former colleagues to find out what they've been up to since they left the firm. This is your PwC Alumni Network with me, Andy Woodfield. Today I'm going to be talking to Miklos Grof. Mick was in the firm for over 3 years and left in 2012 in September. He was within our restructuring business in BRS, and he's done loads of amazing roles all over the world, and most recently focusing in South America. And today he's in Brazil, so we're going to be chatting to him live and direct from Sao Paulo. I'm really excited to hear about his life as an entrepreneur. Here, so how do I pronounce your first name? Mick, is it Mick?
Yeah, everyone calls me Mick.
Okay.
Would be Miklos in Hungarian, but Miklos for everyone else, and Mick in general.
So Mick, it's a pleasure to meet you, and it's a pleasure to have you on our little alumni video stories. Can you tell me a little bit about your career and what you find yourself doing today?
Sure. So I'm an undergraduate in economics, postgrad in finance, all in the UK. And I worked at PwC for 3 years. I also qualified in the ACA, which I think even as an entrepreneur, I can say was one of the hardest experiences of my life. It's very tricky, and I'm very proud that I made it through. I worked at PwC at BRS, as I mentioned, during the financial crisis, starting in 2009. So it was a very exciting time to work in that department. And after 3 years, I began a journey as an entrepreneur since leaving in 2012. And since then, over the last 9, almost 10 years, I've been building tech companies here in Latin America, first in Chile and currently in Brazil.
That's amazing. And what are you doing today? What's your role now?
Perfect. So currently I'm the CEO of a company called Company Hero. We help small and medium-sized companies go through all the bureaucratic stuff in a more seamless manner. So we bring technology to facilitate the lives of small and medium businesses. Opening your company, having a registered address or a commercial address, registering your trademark, even with social media, some polls that can be taken care of by our platform. And over time, hopefully insurance for your company, health insurance for your employees, and bank accounts, really helping take the non-value added bureaucracy away from the small, medium businesses and making it as simple as going on Deliveroo or any delivery app to contact, contract, and activate services that you need to run your business day to day.
It's amazing. So it's almost like a single window type concept, which you might find well, there's lots of countries actually. We've done some interesting work actually in some African countries to make it easier to set up a business. So it's that kind of single window thing. You go to one place and you get everything. It's pretty innovative. I must tell you that my partner is Brazilian, so I had him look at your website and tell me exactly what it was that you guys were up to. So I pushed it in his face and told him to tell me what is this all about. And he gave a pretty good description, actually. I think so. It works. What you've got on there. Tell me why sort of Latin America? What drew you in that direction?
Perfect. So I've been an entrepreneur, or at least now I understand that I was. When I was a kid, I didn't understand what was wrong with me, but I always liked doing deals ever since the age of 6. So everything was very transactional at home. Even though my parents, one was a banker, and my dad is an engineer that worked at the UN, the United Nations, in climate change. But for me, everything, just doing transactions was very important. So even taking medicine or chores, studying well, the only way I would do that would be if we could make a deal around that. So that was how I grew up. I didn't know that had a name. So I thought, okay, that must be something to do with business or money. And I thought I'll study economics and finance and then work at PwC. And I really couldn't put my hand on it until someone in 2011 said, hey, startups. And I didn't know about the .com. I didn't know about all the bubble, the sort of like the tech scene before. I somehow missed that. When they mentioned this word to me, startup, it really resonated with me. And I said, that that is what it is. 20 something years, I didn't understand. That's how it's called. Oh my God, I need to get in that. How do I get in that? Well, okay, so I don't really have any relevant skills, so I'm not sure. And I tried to work at a VC, sending hundreds of CVs out. And everyone said, yeah, you don't have experience. And well, you're not an entrepreneur. And I was like, okay, so I gotta be an entrepreneur. How do I, well, let's go directly to that then. And I heard that in Latin America in 2012, they were very much at the beginning of creating their own startup sector. And I said, look, I think if I go there, someone with my background is more unusual. And I think sometimes when you're unusual, you can stand out. And if you can stand out, you can get opportunities. And I decided, well, one-way ticket, 2 bags, $10,000. So my car. And with that, I left to Latin America to take part in what I thought would be the ground floor of startups. And that's how I got drawn to doing something in a totally different part of the world. Mind you, I've never been, I didn't speak the language, I didn't speak Spanish nor Portuguese. So it was pretty risky. I don't know how I did that, to be honest. Looking back, I think it was a bit nuts, but I'm very, very happy that I did it today.
That's amazing. It's a great example, of getting on and doing something and not realizing you can do it until you have to do it. Like, I love that. I'm guessing you've got a real skill for languages if you've managed to pick up so many different languages over your time, which is something I'm always in great admiration of, because I'm still struggling with English, which is my mother tongue.
So, I mean, I have an accent in all the languages that I speak, even in English, which in theory is my first language. I've been studying in English school since I'm 4. So I don't know if I have like a knack for languages. I never thought I did, to be honest, but I do like people, I do like speaking, and I'm curious. And I think I surprised myself, to be honest, to be able to learn it. So I failed to learn French in high schow.
Me too.
I've done that for a few years. And looking back, I guess many people, right? And I think someone with like a super skill for languages would that be able to learn it more passively. And so my takeaway is that I think when you're motivated at doing something, or you're interested, or you're curious, you'll do it. So I think for me, it was learn or fail. So I think, and then you just push through, you listen. And I picked up Spanish and Portuguese without lessons, listening and interacting and reading people. So I've tried to piece it together as best as I can. And
and did you find that was easier because you were in the country where they spoke the language, so you're immersed in it?
Absolutely. So I mean, I learned Hungarian because I lived in a Hungarian-speaking household. I learned German because the cartoons were in German in Austria, where I grew up. I learned English because I went to an English school in a German-speaking country. And I think that's just how it progressed. And Spanish because of Chile, and then Brazil because I live in Brazil and my wife is Brazilian. So to be honest, it was much better when I didn't speak perfect Portuguese, because I could always blame if I said something, not super good, or I could always say, you misunderstood me. I didn't mean to say that. I don't have that card on my watch.
Oh, well, I'm sorry for you for that. Eh? I think having an accent in a language, it differentiates you. It makes you stand out. I remember a very good friend of mine is Colombian, and he was always saying his English wasn't good, but his English was perfect. But he spoke English with an accent, and actually clients loved it because he was different. And actually, because he had a slight accent, people listened to him more.
Interesting.
And people don't really listen ever, I think, especially in a relationship. I think relationships are not designed for listening. So people were forced to kind of listen a little bit more. So he got more attention, and then, he was able to have a greater impact. So I always, whenever I hear someone who says their language is not good because of their accent, I always think, no, keep your accent. And as I said earlier, my partner's Brazilian. He's got, amazing. I love his accent. It's one of the endearing features about him. And I would never want him to sound like a boring English person. That would ruin it for me.
So I think it depends where you live, and it depends on your degree of able to speak your ability at the language. So I think if you're fairly versed but have an accent, people will be like, okay, great, this person obviously took the effort to learn it and is able to speak in my language, and kudos to this person. Let me listen. I think that is that is true. But however, I would qualify that it depends on the country as well, to the degree which they will listen to you more. I'll give you an example. I think in the UK and in the States and in Brazil, there, if you have an accent, you can be quite interesting, and your background is intriguing. However, in certain countries, including where I lived, like I grew up in Austria, there having an accent wasn't great in German. Because it was quite insular. He's East European, or he's not from here. And at that time, I remember growing up, that was always a bit tricky. So it was very difficult to enter certain social circles. And all us living in the UK, and I lived there for 8 years, we make a lot of jokes with the Parisians because. Why? Because, well, they're anyway very funny, but of course, that's also because when we go there and we try to speak French or English with them, they can be quite snooty with us. So I think it depends on the culture you're in, to the degree which an accent is helpful.
It doesn't seem to matter how perfect your French is, the Parisians still don't understand you. And that's more of a principle than a language thing.
Exactly. And the answer will always be no. Absolutamente no.
Here, so we've had a bit of a strange few years. What's the last year been like for you in terms of sort of big challenges that you faced?
So I think the last year was a year of thinking of business. You always have a year of hell. I've happened to have 2 years of hell with company here. 2018 was very difficult for certain reasons. And the beginning of the crisis was another year of hell. And I remember when it started, for us, I think middle of March is where really people woke up to the fact that we're going to enter a pandemic and this is real. Our business was in a very tricky situation because we were pivoting our business from a more physical business that had some co-working as I think 80% of our revenue. And we were already in progress to pivot to a more service and tech-led business model, but the revenue wasn't there yet. And we had a lot of high costs. So we were really caught with our pants down when the pandemic came. And we had to do a lot of cash management, a lot of negotiation with landlords, reinforce contracts with our clients, which wasn't free either, to try to make sure revenue comes in, at the same time cut expenses, and every day doing new scenario analysis, and every day trying to read about the crisis, become a viral expert like all of us have become over the last year. Every single day trying to speak to other entrepreneurs, what they're doing, and seeing what can be done, and trying to understand what government programs, if any, are going to be launched. In Brazil, it was done. Practically nothing was given to small businesses. And if it was very difficult to understand what it was and how to get it. So it was a tricky moment. And then, of course, all the stuff about personal health, about safety. You didn't know how Brazil will deal with maybe shortages in food. I remember the whole toilet paper crisis that was happening around the world. And here in Brazil, I was worried I won't get insulin. I'm type 1 diabetic. What will happen to my employees? Who can I send home? Who has to go? Can you ask someone to go into the office because there needs to be something done? Is that ethical? What happens if the person falls ill? So I think all this fell on our shoulders in the beginning of the pandemic. Every day we were thinking maybe the business will not survive the pandemic, and all the work that we put in, like that, it's over. And that was really stressful for about, let's say, 2-3 months. I think there was a lot of stress and tunnel without light at the end of the tunnel. And then we entered the second phase where maybe there is light, and in fact, maybe there's opportunities here, and maybe this is pretty good. And then the third is great, this is actually pretty awesome for our business, and let's double down on this and that, and really explore new opportunities that are happening and have occurred due to the crisis. So we've done pretty fantastic to get rid of old businesses that we anyway wanted to get rid of, and double down on new businesses and new go-to-markets. So we actually managed to double the amount of clients, double our ARR, so annual recurring revenue, and double our team, all during the pandemic. So this was a very intense year.
That's amazing. And I constantly hear about Bolsonaro's kind of challenges in terms of accepting vaccines and the amount of times he's been offered them and didn't accept them. And I feel like the Senate hearings in Brazil are constantly on in one of the rooms of my flat here in London. Is the health situation in Brazil settling down now? Do you feel it's coming under control?
Yes and no. I think we've been very fortunate here that the different states have taken things into their hands.
Right.
So I think that was pretty helpful. And Bolsonaro's falling popularity made him understand that we need to start ordering vaccines. We sort of had our foot in the door to get vaccines ahead of every other country, because first of all, a lot of the tests for the vaccines were done here because we had a large country with a high caseload and had a pretty renowned independent vaccine manufacturing centers and research centers. So the partnerships were pretty good for British, for the Chinese, for the Russians, etc., to test their vaccines here. And a lot of the vaccines were tested here. So second semester, Astra was doing a lot of their tests here in Brazil in 3 countries. So UK here and I think South Africa. Pfizer as well, etc. And we were first in line to get them. So we did lose that, but not totally. So I think the country was able to recuperate a little bit some of these orders and get in the door. And I think because of the high caseload here, some of the pharmaceuticals thought, okay, it's also good PR to do this. It's probably also ethical to fulfill some orders in Brazil. So a lot of people dying. We are recovering a bit. Mind you, we've never really had a full lockdown here at all. So our caseloads never really fall. They rise and ebb. I think that's what you would call them. Right now, it's slightly ebbing. I think that's the word, like slightly sort of decreasing. Yeah. What you read and heard in March, April, with no oxygen, etc., for like a week or two, was very short-lived, and now we're sort of falling again. And I'm sure we'll enter a third wave in about a month. But vaccinations are rolling out faster and faster. I got vaccinated on Monday. There were 0 people in line waiting for the vaccine. So I rocked up and I was like, hey, do you have vaccines? Like, yeah, we got Astra. I was like, oh, okay. So why is nobody here? They said they don't know. I got vaccinated.
Wow. And
now it's getting a little bit better. I think we vaccinated our record number yesterday, 1.3 million vaccines in 24 hours. So I think it's a slow mobilization, but it's a big country with a fairly robust healthcare system, despite what is being said, and a huge ability to manufacture vaccines. So just flu vaccines, Brazil manufactures 90 million doses for national consumption per year. Yeah. Imagine you start ramping up production. I'm really confident that we'll be able to start ramping this up, and this is not going to be over for many years. I think we'll be having to have boosters and new variants, new mutants. I think countries that can ramp up production and study local research will be okay in the medium term. And I think Brazil will be okay in the medium term.
Mate, hey, I could talk about Brazil all day long.
Sorry.
Which I probably shouldn't do. One of the things I've been interested to ask in these sort of interviews is, is there a set of skills that you learned at PwC that have kind of stayed with you and you found useful and powerful in your career and today?
Sure. Yes, very much. The first one is humility. Doing my master's at LSE in finance, we had sort of 2 types, a couple of profiles, and one of them was a lot of people that went into investment banking. A lot of my friends did that, and I went to PwC. And I remember the stark difference between their experience and my experience in terms of how we were treated day to day. So I had, a lot of my friends had breakdowns, they slept on their desks, they were treated badly, and of course overworked. 20 hours, 18 hours. And I do remember in the beginning, from day one, we were treated with a lot of care. And I always saw that senior managers, directors, people higher up seem to be first in, last out, real captains, really taking a lot on their own shoulders and never making you want to suffer. It seems like they were almost jumping on the grenades to take care of us. And And it was never like, go get this done for tomorrow. It was like, hey, do you mind? Could we, etc. Tal would be good for X, Y reason. And this is an attitude that has become central and core at my company. And I'm sure I will take this forward to any companies I launch in the future. And that's the reality here at Company Hero too. Our directors work most, our leaders work most, and then we take good care of the juniors. So we try to make them work their 9 to 5s, 9 to 6s. And us directors, we do our 12s or 14s, whatever. And that's the humility I've seen at PwC. And the second, the professionalism of managers, like how organized they were, how detail oriented, taking great notes. And I was always like, wow, how can my manager, Katrina Stone, know better what I have going on, plus 10 other people she's managing. And I missed half of the points that she has on a notepad. And I felt terrible. I was like, wow, I really need to level up my game. And till this day, I remember some of these scenarios, and it's always here trying to push me to be better at managing the company, being more organized. And these are two skills, two insights, two philosophies, let's say, that I've learned working at PwC.
Wow, that's so cool to hear. You have no idea how proud I am to hear that kind of humility and treating people with care and respect is one of those key skills that you learn. I mean, I love the fact that, having a notebook and, being clear and organized. I mean, I do that because I was an engineer to start with. So I always thought it was from an engineering perspective, but I see it in PwC as well. But that humility and treating people with respect and kindness and care and compassion is something that we all really feel. So to know that kind of transition for you as a core skill that you associate with your time at PwC, it makes me immensely proud. So thanks for giving me that and for sharing that. That's great.
It was a very stark experience. It was very, very clear, and I have numerous examples where this was shown to me by different people at different seniorities.
Cool. I mean, that's amazing. I love it. So what does the future look like for you?
So we just finished raising a Series seed round. To this date, Company Hero raised about $1 million. And with this, we're hoping to help a lot more companies. Currently, we're helping close to 6,000 companies that have subscriptions with us. And by the end of next year, we hope to be helping around 15,000 SMEs, which means, Brazil is going through a difficult time with the crisis, and SMEs are always the one that have the shorter end of the stick. Yet they are responsible for 60% of jobs and 30% of the GDP. So by helping more and more companies, I hope reduce their bureaucracy, reduce their burden, reduce their costs that they have in running their business. I hope that we were able to help them generate more employment, generate more sales, help them grow in general, and help Brazil in their recovery, in their economic recovery. And I hope that with what Company Hero is doing, we can make Brazil a place that's easier to do business. The ranking here is, I think we're 124th in the ease of doing business ranking, which is terrible for a top 10 GDP country. And I hope that things that we do here can significantly improve that. So the future for us is aligned around helping more companies, making business easier for them.
What size is an SME for you in terms of how do you classify that kind of size of business?
So in Brazil, there is, I think, official metrics around that, and some of them are around employment. So I think above 100 employees would be already a medium-sized company. I have to double check that for you, but that's more or less how that's classified. So we currently help micro businesses, small businesses, and medium-sized businesses, depending on the services.
Cool. So when I retire from PwC and I set up my my little bar in Salvador, I'll come to you to help me with all of my business needs.
Open the business, we'll register your brand, we'll get your social media posting done. Who knows, a business insurance? Who knows, we'll help you set up your bank account. It's just easy peasy Japanesey, and you can make me some great cocktails.
Oh, that's a deal. Yeah, I make an amazing caipirinha, I have to tell you.
Awesome.
And all of my Brazilian friends tell me that it's better than some Brazilians, which it makes me very happy. So I have to ask, in your journey going forward, one of the things that we want to make sure is that we're doing what we can to help our alumni. Is there anything you think that PwC can do or the alumni network can do to help you in where you're going?
I think big challenges in our business looking ahead is growing and growing internationally. We have an ambition to take our services to more countries. And in this journey, recruiting and finding partners, we work with a lot of accountants and law firms that bring us clients to take care of certain paralegal matters and digitize them and fiscal addresses, etc. PwC works exactly in that industry. And I'm sure a lot of alumni will continue working with competitors or smaller ones or setting up their own outfits, etc. And I hope that with time, the alumni network could be really helpful for us in recruiting people that would maybe like to take part of the hero journey or become partners, clients for us going ahead as we expand our business and our offerings.
I mean, I think it'd be interesting. I think we should have a chat after this. My day job is I'm the global relationship partner for the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. And we do a lot of work around economic development in developing countries and countries which are important to Great Britain from a trade perspective. And a lot of that work is around making it easier to do business, understanding what the barriers are for British businesses coming into those countries. And in many cases, the kind of single window idea of removing those barriers is a big opportunity. So there's probably a lot we could do to support you more from a local firm whenever you're ready to move beyond Brazil, to look at how we could help. So that'd be something quite interesting to talk about. But I shouldn't distract us too much from that right now. Is there anything in particular you would like the alumni network to know? So we've got over 70,000 PwC UK alumni. And maybe all 70,000 could be watching us now. Maybe not.
Now I got pretty nervous.
Yeah. Is there anything you would like them to know?
So this is something I also learned at PwC, watching the partner at BRS at the time, Dan Schwartzman, operate. This guy was a passionate guy. So I remember him getting in, eager, happy, and it's just like, wow, it's Monday, and we got awesome new challenges.
He's still like that. He's still like that every Monday.
He's just amazing. And I remember looking at it and saying, wow, when you are like that, you're always going to be looking at problems as interesting challenges, and you're always going to be 5 steps ahead, because when you're going home, you're still sort of mulling over a new idea. When you're in the shower, you're thinking about that. And I think that's where innovation and new ideas and top work will come. And I think it's very important for all of us to find that. And PwC has so many departments, so many areas. One of my ex-colleagues at PwC worked with me, left, and he went back and he's working in a new very exciting area that is sort of coaching and helping the different departments sell better to their clients, listen better, etc. So he found his nature, his interest, and he decided to come back. And I think all of us should really look and see, what is it that I love that could make my day-to-day, like swimming downstream versus upstream, and work at that. So we look forward to Monday the same way we look forward to Saturday. And in life, I think that's my biggest takeaway. And I think everyone should reflect on that.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a very, 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 very big believer in playing to your strengths and managing your weaknesses. In fact, I have a book coming out in October which talks about that.
Really?
So yeah, I'm obsessed with that idea. I think it's crazy that we would do stuff that we don't love. So here, tell me about your passions. And I think you touched on this a little bit already, but I think for a lot of us, there's some real sort of fundamental passions that we've had like as kids, and when we kind of grown up, and those passions kind of have come through and guided our careers. Is there anything you could share with us around your passions that you've had over your life and your career?
So I love building businesses. It's something I love the thrill of building something out of nothing, working with others, working with smart people. So I've been very good at finding people really talented in different areas and enabling them at work and helping them collaborate, etc. So that is something I love, and it's a passion that is very compatible with the startup. And I think that's a passion that has molded my career choice, and it's also helping me thrive in that career. So that is definitely a passion, a calling that I have in life.
So that's like almost like creating something, like building, creating. I love
exactly.
that.
Building,
Love
creating
that.
businesses, getting people, mobilizing people to get involved, getting them psyched about it. And I just love that. I always love that.
That's amazing. Hey, Mick, it's been fantastic chatting to you. It's really interesting to hear your journey, what you've been up to, and to hear what you've remembered from PwC, what stayed with you, and to kind of go over your passion and your focus and what you've been up to the last year and where you're going. And I thank you a million times for your time today, and wish you all the very best in
Thank you so much.
the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure to participate in this. Thank you.
Pleasure.